Welcome everybody to the Thursday night Dynamo Water Polo team huddle. We've got an awesome group already in here, and folks continue to stream in, so that's great. I see we've got people from all over Atlanta. We've even got hello Argentina. Lou, Feli, how you guys doing? Great to see you.
Hey, how are you?
Hey guys.
Fine.
Great. So great crowd tonight. Glad to see everybody. We are joined tonight by John Adbou. I know you guys have seen his bio. A lot of you guys have met him already, but John is the Chief High Performance Officer for USA Water Polo, and he oversees everything high performance. So he's got ODP, he's got national teams, and he's a busy guy, and we're really happy to have him with us. So without further ado, John's going to talk with us on some pretty important points about USA Water Polo and Georgia. And then, as always, please start submitting your questions. And then we want to have John answer as many questions as he possibly can. So go ahead and as soon as you have a question, go ahead and submit it. We'll get to him at the end. Okay, John.
Hey, thanks, Stu, and hey everybody. Good to really excited to be here. Glad to be here this evening with you guys and catch up with everybody in Georgia and even Argentina. That's great. Buenos Aires is one of my favorite cities in the world. I'll tell you that right now. So it's good to hear from some people there. I think for me, it's an honor just to be able to pop into with clubs and zones in different areas on these Zoom calls that we've all been picking up over the since this thing has started. And so one of the reasons I do like to pop in is just to say hello, and then also remind everybody just that this is while water polo is a huge part of our lives, right? It's just a small thing in the big picture, right? And so I hope when as I talk to you guys that your families are well and healthy, and everybody's handling this situation to the best of your abilities, right? Economically, physically, socially, spiritually. And so my best out to all you guys, and we can distract each other for a little bit and talk some water polo and talk what we're doing, but hopefully you're all managing your families and your situations well. And thank you, Stu, for the invite, and thanks for having me here. And I think I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. So I won't talk much because I'd love to just answer questions and really more talk about things that you guys want to hear as well. But I'm a big fan and excited of the growth that we're seeing in water polo across America, but also what we're seeing in Georgia and what's happening in Georgia right now. And one of the introductions I got was through Stu and through the state and things that are happening. But another one I got was through another local resident, now our events director, Ryan Cunane, who's also on the call as well. He's our director of events and growth. And he spent 3 years in Atlanta with you guys as well. And I think having him on the call tonight too just represents some of the things that have been happening and in the country and what we're seeing there. And he's been responsible for that. So appreciate all the guidance and the education I've been getting about the state of Georgia from everyone, including Ryan. And so thanks, Ryan, for being here too. Another way to look at this is I spent 6 years in Pennsylvania as the Bucknell men's and women's water polo head coach. So when I look at Georgia and when I look at places where you guys are at, much of the time I spent as a collegiate water polo coach before I took this role was outside of California. And one of the things I hear from people and athletes and coaches from outside of California all the time is the feeling of the sense or feeling of being disadvantaged of being from outside of California in this process. And I have to tell you guys how much I don't like hearing that, because it's this, from where I'm sitting, first I was born in Egypt. I moved to Texas, then came to California. And then when I came to California, we never lived in any of the hot spots of water polo in California. I always lived in the places that were always complained within California that we're not Orange County, or we're not Palo Alto, or we're not these places, even when I spent 4 years in Santa Barbara, and even in Santa Barbara, we always felt like we were isolated. We weren't getting the attention we deserved, right, in Santa Barbara. And then I spent 6 years in Pennsylvania. And one thing I've learned about water polo in America and everything where we're at is regardless of where you're sitting as an athlete or as a coach, you can accomplish whatever you want in this sport. And frankly, I'm a living example of that, because I'm not from one of the water polo outfits. I didn't go to UCLA, Stanford, Cal, or USC either, right? I went to UC-Irvine. I went to a mid-major school. I played for a no-name high school and a no-name club at the time, and we barely had club when I was there. And so personally, I feel like I'm a living example of getting through the water polo world globally and domestically without having some sort of storied background. And then when I was coaching, my favorite athletes of all time, favorite athletes that I've ever coached, were always the kids from outside of California. Always the kids from, they were always my favorite. And because they're the ones who showed the most hunger, the most passion, the most enthusiasm for the sport, and frankly, the hunger to learn. So when I look at what's been happening in Georgia for the last 4 years and what you guys have been able to do, going from having one athlete in ODP in general to now having over 20, to having athletes making national team selection camps, to having athletes getting recruited from all over schools, is a phenomenal thing. But I'm not surprised at all. Right? I'm not surprised, because any bit of effort that you guys put in, and the amount of attention to detail that you put into this sport, and the care that your coaches and the leaders that you guys have in your area that are on this call that are putting in, is going to result in those things. So when you see that your athletes are in ODP, and your athletes are making national teams, or you have teams competing out in Junior Olympics, and you have all the things that you guys are doing, it's going to pay dividends, and it's happening quickly in a rapid pace because of your efforts. And one thing I can say to any athlete who's in water polo anywhere in the country, when they do this, is you get what you put in. More than any other sport, you get what you put in. Because I loved basketball, and I played basketball since the day I was, since the first day I could have a hoop in my house, I played basketball. But as much effort as I put into basketball, there wasn't going to be the dividend that I really wanted to get out of it, right? I was not going to be able to get a college scholarship on that. I wasn't going to do that, because it was too many people playing the sport. It was too difficult of a space to navigate. But in water polo, more than any other sport in the world that I know of, if you put the time in and you put your effort in, the dividend is gonna come through. And that's what I see in Georgia happening. Because if you put in your time and you put in your effort, the opportunities are endless. And that's what you guys are seeing. That's why so many people are getting recruited now on the college level. It's why you guys are making it through these pathways much faster. And it's honestly an inspiring and awesome thing to see. So congrats on that. And it's awesome to see the growth in Georgia and what you guys are doing. I will also say that being from Atlanta or being from Georgia is a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage. I think I've talked to some of you guys about this before. As I came to your ODP camp last fall, or some of you have been to some of the college recruiting talks I've given, I would say that where you're from is an advantage, because you're in a position where you have facilities, you have coaches, right? You have a budding league. You're building rivalries. Multiple clubs are starting to form. Multiple high schools are starting to form. All these things, this growth that's happening, as that's growing, that's a huge advantage in relation to some of the athletes I've seen at the college level. When I was at Bucknell University, and you can raise your hand if you've heard of or know where Bucknell University is, but it's in central Pennsylvania. And if you've been to Washington Lee or some of these other places, right?
Yeah.
The horse and buggy and the Amish are readily available nearby.
And nothing else.
Nothing else in the neighborhood. But many of the athletes, some of my favorite athletes on my team were from New Hampshire, from New Mexico. One of my favorite male athletes of all time was a New Hampshire athlete. And I can tell you that the growing water polo scene in Georgia dwarfs what's happening in New Hampshire, dwarfs what's happening in New Mexico, or what's happening in a lot of the places that we're talking about. And what was for me most important about these athletes that ended up being wildly successful and scoring a lot of goals and playing great defense at the Division I level was because they were great athletes who put a lot of time into the process. So being from Georgia, being from Atlanta, where you already have a number of those things that those athletes that I just mentioned didn't have, puts you at an advantage and puts you ahead of them, all right? Puts you ahead of where you need to be. So I can tell those stories for days, but I'll just give you that context that you have the opportunity to do that. And the next step for you guys is to continue to build this competition structure and to continue to build build these rivalries against each other and push, because, you know, as we know, iron sharpens iron, right? So when you guys get after each other and you really have, you know, people that are pushing you and pushing each other, it's going to put yourselves in a position to get better and to continue here. I may already have been going past my time limit, but I wanted to show one more thing before I answer a lot of questions here. Is as U.S. Water Polo members, one of the benefits that USA Water Polo membership gives is the ability to have access to some of the educational videos and materials you have. And while everybody has some time, and maybe you're in finals week, you're winding down high school or anything like that, you should have some time coming up. And if when summer comes and your workouts are limited, I would encourage you to really dive into all the great stuff that's out there right now. And that's not just U.S. Water Polo, and I'll show you that stuff, but the Cap 7 and 6-8 and I can tell you how much professional development is out there for coaches and athletes right now. There's been a sense of a renaissance. And I was a high school history teacher for a long time. And if you go back in world history, it was after the plague, the Black Plague, that the Renaissance was formed, right? The Enlightenment, the age of enlightenment came after the plague, right? And what you're dealing with now, right? And I wouldn't want to compare this to the Black Plague, but in our small version of that here in America, where we have this pandemic and we're going through it, that there is a renaissance that's happening in terms of water polo and our ability to share and have materials and have professional development for coaches, athletes. I just jump into all of it. And parents, I know it's hard to have too many social media accounts for your kids, and you want to monitor those things, and maybe you don't have a Twitter account yet. That's the place where you can find all of that, and I would encourage it. And one thing that we have is that you may have seen is it's called our mobile coaching app, and I think. I'll share it with you now. It's a misnomer to call it a coaching app. It's really for everybody. So any level of membership gets you into this thing as you have it. And it works well on the web, and it works on your phones and your iPads or anything. So if you go to this website here, mobilecoach.usawaterpolo.org, and you put in your membership number and password, same membership number, same password, pops you right into this thing. And you'll say it's for coach, but athletes, I can tell you this is where you want to be. So anything that you see here is if it's a coach resource, it's also an athlete resource. Something very quickly to see. Is everybody seeing my screen okay, Stu? Is that good?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Keep going. Yeah. In this, one cool thing to see would be, and I'll point out two quick things before I answer questions, is like this, where it says vertical base position. There are a number of videos here, individual skills and drills that you can do. Assuming we're all going to be back in the pool here soon, it's going to come in phases and small groups. So what can you do in a small group with your workouts? You can do a lot of these individual workouts in terms of like drills and videos that come with them, and it takes you directly to these videos and these are done by an athlete named Christo that was from UCLA, but also from Montenegro, and perfect body positioning kind of and everything that he's doing. So take a look and try to mimic all of those. Another place I would go is under ODP, and you don't have to be an ODP athlete to take advantage of this. Again, you can jump right in, and I would go straight to the technical skills, and all of the technical skills are here on video, and you get a chance to watch. My favorite things that I want to highlight out to you guys are these defensive movements. If everybody can get better while you have time, and we can't scrimmage, or maybe we're in the pool, but we can't scrimmage and we can't compete, or there's no games for a little while, and everybody got better in America at technical movements, in defensive technical movements, we would be phenomenally ahead of our competition domestically and abroad. Anybody who's going to take this time to get better in their technical skills, vertical, horizontal, is going to be ahead. So I'd point out the defensive movements 1 and 2. I would point out some of our shot blocking drills, right? And the people who are demonstrating these drills, I'll tell you right now, are the best, right? So you're talking about, as you watch this on the screen, you'll see Maggie Steffens, you'll see Kylie Nuschel, you'll see our senior national team members who are doing these. So I think that's something that's a wildly, I don't know, sorry, I lost my words here. It's a lot of Zooms, but it's a great resource for you to take advantage of. And it's a really cool thing. These are the best players in the world. I mean, if you talk about our women being the two-time defending gold medalist, but to see them doing these skills specifically, it's a real blessing to have those things. So highly encourage you guys to take advantage of this stuff and be able to jump right into it. So I guess I've said a lot, but I'm just excited to be here and excited to see the growth in Georgia, excited to see the growth where you guys are at, excited to see the people take advantage of these resources, and for you guys to have the structure that's building around you is is very cool. So happy to answer questions or to keep going through it, but I'll stop sharing my screen. But if you want to catch it again, mobilecoach.usawaterpolo.org. I hope everybody can kind of jump into that.
Yep, and we will email out when we send out the game notes from this huddle. We'll send that link out. So as you guys start to send in your questions by chat, John, realizing we're right now dealing with a lot of unknowns, we don't know how much longer individual communities or states are going to have to do what. But where is USA Water Polo currently on two things? One, girls national ODP nationals, and then two, the next ODP cycle, which for us in the Southeast zone traditionally has kicked off in Atlanta, like the last weekend in October.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think one, we want to host as much ODP and programming and any competition, anything as we can, right? So we're the girls ODP national championships. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern. We're hoping in the next couple of weeks we get good news from the school districts where the pools can be open and we can potentially host something in the late summer or early fall. And then once we know that would define the line of when the next ODP would start, right? If we can kind of close off the 2020 season, then we can start the 21 season. And so I think we're hoping and praying, right, that we can get it. We're just kind of waiting for the pools to be open, just like many clubs and people. US Water Polo, we're waiting on the behalf of the schools in the state of California to allow us to do those things. So that's one. Two, given the green light, right? If we're given the green light and everything's ready to go and travel's free and the pool's ready, we'll be back with the ODP camp at the end of October in Atlanta, and I personally promise to be there myself with at least one Olympian international team player to come at the end of October, given that opportunity to be there. So I'm looking forward to it. And I told Stu, Ryan, and Ken, everybody who would listen, that I had a great time in Atlanta. It was my first time in the city, and I am genuine when I talk about the growth that we're seeing and the opportunity that we're seeing. So if God willing, everything ready to go, open in October, we will be there, and I'll be ready to go.
That's great. Guys, go ahead and start throwing your questions in. But John, just from a scheduling perspective, Ashley Johnson said that if again, schedules, who knows, but she's like, if she can be on that staff, she wants to be on that staff. So we'll throw that plug out there for her.
Yeah, she's mentioned the same. Ashley's a great person and obviously a phenomenal athlete, and had the privilege of working with her since she was about 11 years old, her and her family, meeting them in Miami. And so any chance we can get her back to the zone, she's always ready to jump at this. So we're excited. And again, we're all going to keep that positive outlook that we're allowed to do all these things, and we get the clearance, and we'll be back and get it started. So
great. All right, guys, where are our questions? We usually have them start pouring in right about now. So
yeah.
All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. Olivia, mute your phone. All right. So I'm having trouble on my end. If I see there's one question, so whoever, I can't see the question. Whoever asked the question, will you unmute yourself and ask your, just tell us who you are and then ask your question.
Things are coming in and
can you read them?
Well, so.
Can you read them, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go. I can't. I'm having trouble on this end. So if you'll just handle the questions, that would be great.
Yeah. No worries. I think you guys have gotten some of these questions and some of this stuff in the past. Some people are asking, like, what are some at-home body weight exercises, that we could recommend, ways to stay in shape when you guys are at home. I honestly, I can tell you what our athletes are doing at the senior team level, right? So what we've prescribed as senior team athletes and what their program has been, and maybe Ashley talked a little bit about this, or Jesse, or Brian Alexander when they were here. What they're doing is similar. We started with about 5 Zooms a week where we were meeting on a daily basis and getting to it. The research is kind of telling us that there's an exhaustion that comes with this Zoom, with too much Zoom. And I know that you guys are, some of you are still in school, and I'm looking forward to you guys not having to be in Zoom calls all day for school, and then water polo and other stuff as well. So we've tailored that down to a couple of days a week. We're doing a lot of yoga. So it's 2 to 3 days of yoga, because we know that's body weight, and we can lead that session through the Zoom. So that's a very easy thing for you guys to be able to find access to, is some good yoga. One of the things that we've actually found is USA Swimming has this, and you can also Google swimming yoga for swimmers, which I think is really important. And the reason we say yoga for swimmers is because it's specific to the 3 areas I would say that are crucial for water polo body development and injury prevention. One is there's 2 places where injuries happen: shoulders and hips in water polo. Biggest place where injuries happen, right? So any injury prevention that you can do to strengthen your hips and your shoulders is crucial for your longevity in your career, right? So yoga and stretching and movements and band work, the band work that does for your shoulders and hips, I think is really important. The third place I would say there's your core, right? So yoga takes care of all those things. So yoga for swimmers. Then we also do some strength conditioning with body weights. And a lot of that honestly can come down to very basic things like push-ups and sit-ups and crunches. Like, you can really simplify this down to what you can do. And a lot of that you can find in the resources I mentioned before. So anything you can do there. Some other question that went with that was the online resources that are recommended. The technical skills, no doubt, number one thing, because I could tell you that in my analysis, and I'm not alone in this, our worldwide view of why or how we can get better as a country versus other countries in water polo. And it's usually not our swimming, and it's usually not our conditioning. It has 100% to do with our vertical and horizontal skills, our technical skills. That's where we are lacking in America. And that's where you, as an athlete from anywhere in the country, want to differentiate yourself from anyone else, would be your ability to go vertical to horizontal, back and forth in a fluid manner. So I can't stress enough how important. It's number one with a bullet, is what I'm saying, right? If you can get over your hips in a more efficient and fluid manner than other athletes, you will be, even if those athletes can shoot better, even if that athlete is faster, right? Even if that athlete has other skills that may be advanced from you, your ability to go over your hips, your ability to be fluid and move in the water in a technical way will surpass them when the time comes at the higher levels, right? In college and beyond. So, and then the rest of the technical skills, like I said, I think Cap 7, I think 6-8, I think a lot of the companies, everybody on social media, follow our national, you should be following all our national team athletes on social media, are all putting out good things as well for there. So let me try to rifle through some of these as I can.
While you're looking for your next juicy question, John,
yeah.
Guys, when the coaches, like when you are in the water and we're doing 50s of reverse skull to hip overs to lunge back to reverse, if you're just going through those motions, you're just going through those motions. But if you're doing it with physical intensity and mental focus, then you're going to improve. So everything we do within the structure of our workouts is to try to help you improve first as individuals and then as cohesive units. But to Coach Abdou's point, it all starts with the individual technical skills, and the better you are at those, the easier it's going to be to execute the tactical.
Absolutely. It's definitely technical over tactical is one of our themes. So yep. I would keep that in mind. Some other questions that are coming in are about just the development of the league and the development of more programs in the area. Look, I think someone heard me say it, right? Iron sharpens iron. I think that's going to be important, right? Developing rivalries in water polo and developing competition in any sport is going to be really big. It's how you get better, and that's how this works. I mean, one of the best things I've I think everybody has been watching during this pandemic has been The Last Dance on ESPN, and it's the story of the Chicago Bulls. And my favorite part of that story is when they talk about the Bulls' rivalry with the Pistons and the Bulls' rivalry with the Knicks, and all the teams get better when they have other teams to play that are good. So by all means, the more teams, the more competitiveness that's out there will only help you get better, right? You can't say that enough, that you need competition to get better. So I think it's important. And I know someone asked about the difference between American Water Polo and USA Water Polo, and I have no gripes or anything with American Water Polo. Obviously, you guys have had the resources and ability to work with them as well. I think one of the benefits of being a USA Water Polo member and developing more USA Water Polo clubs and competitions is the access to this kind of infinite amount of resources that we're developing and working together. So I would highly encourage you guys to do that. We're unaffiliated, so to answer the question, is it our insurance is covered both ways? The answer would be no. But again, I would highly encourage it. If there's anything we can do to help in that sense, I would be happy to do it. Some of the questions you see there, is there a chance ODP camps could be smaller numbers? Sure, I'm not sure. We'll rely on the authorities to tell us whether the camps can be larger or smaller. People have asked about what is it to be a complete player, or like what are the national team coaches looking at? I'm going to repeat what I said. The ability to be a complete player, or the ability to have our national team coaches notice you, will be whether or not you can do those technical skills at a high level. If you can do that, if you can be fluid if you have a good relationship with the water, you're going to be great, right? We're going to notice you, and no one's at the basketball combine, coaches aren't at the basketball combine watching people trip over themselves as they run, or dribbling the basketball off their face or off their leg, right? At the water polo combine, can you go over your hips? Can you be vertical? Can you be smooth and have a great relationship with the water? We're going to notice you immediately. We will. And every other skill can be taught. That one takes a long time to develop. So develop that one, to Coach Stu's point as well, right? Develop those technical skills. We'll teach you the tactical. It's easy. The plays are easy. The tactics in water polo are easy. The technical is really hard, right? So get that down first, and we'll teach you the tactical the rest of the way.
All right.
I think we're going to run out of time. So
we've got 1 minute left. So I just want to wrap up. Big thanks to John Adbou from USA Water Polo. We have a record audience tonight, so John, you can tell Jesse Smith that you crushed him on the audience count.
I'll let him know that, because I can't beat him physically, so I'll let him know that. Yeah.
So we'll get this video put up on our YouTube channel, and everybody can check that out there. Thanks again, John, and we hope to see you soon. Hopefully in October, if not before. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, definitely keep doing what you guys are doing in Georgia. Keep it up, guys. Really inspiring. So keep doing what you're doing. Proud of your work.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
Everybody have a great week.
We'll get kicked out of here, right, dude? So I'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Good job.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you guys.